There are 1,000,001 different ways to write your hero and 1,000,002 different tropes to do it with. And today I wanted to kind of dive into some of those tropes. This is not an exhaustive list, of course, and if you have any ideas for more, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll do a sequel to this video. But today I picked out 22 tropes that I've seen a lot in media and that I've seen people talk about a lot in media, and I'm going to be tier ranking them. They are all hero specific. I'm going to be doing one for villains, one for romance, one for world building, sprinkled throughout the year, because this is a really easy format of video to film and edit. Tropes are a huge part of writing, and especially the way that writing is marketed now. With the rise of book talk and things, which I'm not an expert on this, I don't even have TikTok, but I've watched a lot of videos about it, so bear with me and correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like with the rise of book talk, books are now being marketed through their tropes. So instead of saying what the book's about, they're like, is it enemies to lovers with fake dating and a secret heir? And that would be how you pitch the book. And people either love this or they hate this. I'm kind of neutral to it. I definitely have a lot of tropes that I really enjoy. I think some tropes are tropes for a reason. You know, I don't think that using tropes is necessarily bad, but I do think that some can be bad and that some have been a little overused. So today I wanted to kind of go through and talk about which of these I think fall into those categories. This is just my personal opinion, of course. So the 5 tiers that I have chosen are: at the top, every story needs a... Now, I named it that, but this is not me saying that every story needs that. There's no rules, okay? I just need a name for the top tier. My new blurbo is next. Which, if you are an internet person, you'll know what that means. And if not, and this is the first time you've ever heard someone say the word blurbo, that is basically like, this is your new favorite character that you're adopting and you're gonna write 1,000,000 fanfics about. I put that one there mostly for things that I'm like, this is my personal favorite. Next is solid trope. It's just kind of the neutral, like, this is a good one, but I don't have especially strong feelings about it either way. Then we have a little overdone. Like, it could be good, but it's been done so many times that people are kind of sick of it. And then the final bottom tier is legit why, but we're just gonna dive right into it before I ramble for another 10 minutes. Starting right off the bat, the first one is Mary Sue and Gary Stu. So a Mary Sue is a perfect character with no flaws. That is a girl. And a Gary Stu is the male equivalent of that. Right off the bat, I don't like Mary or Gary. Why can't I drag it? Putting that right in, legit why? Because that is such a bad trope. Flaws are what make a character interesting to me. If it's a flawless character, I have no interest in them at all. So I actually plan on doing a video next week about how to make heroes, and one of the main things I'm going to be covering in that video most likely is flaws, because they're what make a character interesting. They're what make them fascinating. They're what make us root for them. It's not like if we see someone perfect, we're going to relate to them and root for them. Yeah, I think that that's just, no, we don't need any more of those. That's not how you make a character compelling or seem strong or anything. A flawless character doesn't seem strong or powerful or whatever the goal is with these kinds of characters. They just feel flat. Next, an alpha hole. Okay, so we're just going straight off the bat with a ton of terrible ones. So if you don't know what an alpha hole is, it's kind of like an alpha male type guy who's also an a-hole. That's why it's an alpha hole. That is another no for me. There's nothing good about that. I have one of those characters, but they are actually a person you're not supposed to like. So I think that this trope can totally work for a character you're not supposed to like. But too often we see them as, like, this is ranking heroes and protagonist tropes, and this is actually a hero or protagonist trope sometimes. And in that setting, I don't like it at all. As an antagonistic character, sure. But as a protagonist, no thank you. Next. Orphan hero. Okay, this one's hard. And I, as a D&D player, used to be very guilty of this. You're just like, well, your whole family died in your backstory. You know, every time. Every time that's what they do to the hero. And I do think that in some cases this has been done well, and I think it makes sense. But I think that at a certain point, it sort of just became like an excuse to make their backstory sad. It became one of those things, it's like, oh, well, everybody has this to make them sad and make you feel for them. And then you don't feel for them because it's happened to everybody in fiction. So I'm gonna put that in a little overdone. I'd like to see some protagonists with healthy family dynamics. Why does everybody have to either have a dead family or hate their family? Why can't there be nice, happy families? Honorable warrior. I'm gonna say that that's a solid trope. I don't have super strong feelings about it, but when it's coupled with other things, I do find it compelling. I like and I respect a good honorable warrior character. Damsel in distress. No thank you. It is the 21st century. I think we can be done with that one. And right after that, let's just talk about this in a set, because right after that one is hero gets the girl, which I'm also gonna put in the bottom tier, right next to damsel in distress. These are kind of outdated. Okay, not even kind of. They're outdated. I think that in the modern world, we can probably move past these. And I personally haven't really seen these much in media lately, but I also tailor what I watch and what I read to the things that I like, so I don't know, maybe they're still really prevalent in other media that I'm just not absorbing. But yeah, these just feel kind of outdated to me. I think it's fine to have a plot line where you're trying to save someone, and I think it's fine if that someone is a girl. But I think if it's always a girl, that's where we get into problems. I think that we can kind of phase it out, or at least subvert it in some way to make it fresh and new and not quite so sexist. Hero gets the girl is also just weird to me. The person, like the girl is like a reward for completing the quest, which I guess is damsel in distress. Like those would often go together, like he would save her and then they'd end up getting together. And it just, I don't know. No thank you. What is next? Kind-hearted assassin. See, I'm gonna say that I don't like this, but then you have a avid Six of Crows fan right here saying that they don't like an edge. And that's a lie, so I'm not gonna say I don't like it, I'm just gonna put it in a little overdone. I think this trope contradicts itself. All around, it just doesn't really make sense to me. I don't think that assassins have to be like horrible people, but often this is like a character who has like a strict moral code and doesn't want to kill kind of a character, and I'm like, that doesn't really make sense if you're an assassin. Your whole thing is killing people. I think it can be done well. Six of Crows is a good example. I love that series. I think it does it very well, but I do think it's been a little bit overdone. I feel like when I was like 16, every book had an assassin, like a cool girl assassin as their main character, and I'm just like, why? Why is every character an assassin? I'm kind of done with assassins now. Next, the outsider. I don't have super strong feelings about this one. I'm just gonna put it in solid trope. The outsider is just like a character that doesn't fit in with everybody else. And I think that most protagonists are this in one way or another, and I think that's because most people are this in one way or another. If you really think about it, everybody's weird in their own little way. Everybody feels like they don't fit in for XYZ reason. So I sort of just feel like this is like a given, not like Other Girls. No, I'm putting it in legit Y, because not like other girls is always used as a compliment. It's always like, I'm not like other girls, which implies that most girls are a certain way. It's almost like by trying to lift up this female character and make them seem cool, you've decided to insult all other women. I think it's kind of outdated as well, in the kind of realm of like hero gets the girl and damsel in distress. Like it was trying to fight back against those, but then it fell into the same pitfalls. The underdog. That's just another solid trope for me. You know, I think we love a good underdog story with good reason. I don't have that many feelings about it, other than cool. Funny to hide the pain. Now this I do have feelings about. That's my new Blorbo. I don't think it's like the greatest trope of all time. I don't think it applies to everything, but I am adopting them and I am writing a million fanfics about them. This is what happened with Soren and the Dragon Prince. It happens pretty much anytime there's a character who's like a little bit traumatized that is just like, but I'm a ray of sunshine pretending I'm fine. It's just I always become obsessed with them. So that's a me personal favorite. I'm adopting them. They're getting a whole category on my AO3 account. You know, that's a yes for me. Lone wolf. Nah, it's just a solid trope. Like, the first thing that comes to mind is Aragorn sitting in the corner of a tavern, being all dark and brooding, and I'm like, I like that vibe. I think it can be overdone if a character uses lone wolf to become like standoffish and annoying to everybody in the group, then that's frustrating. So if the book uses lone wolf as an excuse to be mean to other characters, I think that's annoying. So I guess what this one all comes down to is execution. They can be a lone wolf, but maybe don't have them be an a-hole. Lucky novice. Legit why? This is when the character has never operated a starship before, but suddenly they're flying around like they've done it a million times. They're the best pilot. So right next to that, we're gonna go and find the best to ever do it. And let's talk about both of these at once, because the best to ever do it will never not frustrate me. Lucky novice is frustrating because it just feels like plot armor on your character at all times. Of course they can fly the ship that they've never stepped foot in before. They got lucky. And then the best to ever do it often goes with this, where somehow the character has never done this before, but they're doing it better than the professionals. Alone, those tropes frustrate me, but combined, they infuriate me. It's kinda lends itself to the Mary Sues and Gary Stews of the world, where it just feels like your character's perfect. And I don't like that. Let's see, what is next? Hereditary magic. I actually saw some people say they didn't like this one, but I'm gonna put it in solid trope. I just love magic. I also like magic that you have to gain through a weird oath, or through a deal with a demon, or by learning it. I just like magic in all its forms, so I think hereditary magic is cool. The rightful ruler. Again, that's just kind of like a solid trope in my mind. If you combine it with other things, and it's like the rightful ruler plus blank and blank, then they can be an interesting character. The anti-hero. Again, that's just kind of a solid trope. You see it so often. And again, I would just say add to it. Don't have them just be an anti-hero. Have them be an anti-hero plus XYZ. I think that when tropes are the most interesting is when you can combine them with one another. If your character can be summed up with a single trope, they're probably lacking a little bit of depth. So solid trope is kind of just like, yeah, these are cool, but maybe combine them together to make a more intriguing character. Self-sacrifice. Every story does not need this, but I'm putting it in every story needs a self-sacrifice, because I am one of those writers that you read my book and I'm like, oh, at the end, he dies for the cause. And you're like, why? I spent 500 pages getting attached to him. And I'm like, that's why. That's why I did those 500 pages, so you'd feel this way right now. So I love it, but every story definitely does not need one. That top tier is misnamed, but every one of my story needs a self-sacrifice. I think, again, it can definitely be overdone, but I think if it's tastefully done, and if you really think about it, and you don't just do it for shock value, I know I just made it sound like I do it for shock value, but I actually often do it for like narrative reasoning. A lot of my stories do involve an element of this, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a death. It could be sacrificing something else, like a relationship, a career, or it could be like sacrificing your moral code, or like all those kinds of things. I group that in as well. Reluctant hero. This is just, I mean, I'd say most characters these days are reluctant heroes. I'm just gonna put it in solid trope. Again, same spiel, add to it. Don't have that be all there is to them. Okay, this one's gonna be a little bit controversial, I think. Chosen one. I'm not gonna put it in a little overdone. I'm gonna say it's a solid trope. I like chosen ones. It can be annoying the way some people write them. A lot of times, chosen ones will be combined with your Mary Sues and Gary Stews, the best to ever do it, and Lucky Novice, and all of those, but I think that that's what people find annoying. I don't think the chosen one trope is annoying. I think it's the way that they're written that has often been annoying. And I think that if you write a chosen one trope well, it can actually be really intriguing, because you have this character who sort of knows their destiny. Like, they don't really get a say in it. And I think that that's just like a really interesting premise. And that if it's done well, it can be really good. Okay, actually, I'm putting it in my top tier. I love a good chosen one if it's written well. I don't think every story needs one. I think every story used to have one and it got frustrating, but I do really like that trope. Pretends to like their destiny / job. I'm gonna put that in solid trope. This actually was suggested by somebody over on my, I think it was Instagram. Please ignore the alarm in the background, because I do a lot of asking people over there what tropes they'd like tier ranked in these videos. So if you want to follow me over there, I will put it here, and you can definitely follow me and suggest for future videos. I like this. This sort of goes hand in hand with the chosen one a little bit to me, or like the kind-hearted assassin, or like things like that. Tropes where the character is in a position that a lot has been taken out of their hands, or they're in a place that they legitimately don't want to be, but they sort of just have to pretend. Or like an heir to the throne kind of character that doesn't want to be the next king, but has to, and just has to like grit their teeth and smile. Like, I definitely think that that is a solid trope. Again, add other stuff to it, but I definitely like that one. Speaking of heirs to the throne, the secret heir. I'm gonna say that's another solid trope. I like that one. It might be a little overdone at this point, but I think if you can bring something new and intriguing to it, then it can be fun. That might be all of them, because once again, I accidentally uploaded it twice. That is my final tier ranking. I'm kind of surprised. I do tend to like heroes less than villains, so maybe that's why I'm neutral about so many of these. Villains tend to be my favorite characters. I feel like we need to spice up our hero game a little bit according to this trope list. Let me know your favorite and least favorite tropes for heroes in the comments. So next week there'll be a video coming out about how to write heroes, so definitely stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Oh, I sound like a YouTuber. I am a YouTuber. Hit that subscribe button if you want to make sure to catch that video. I post every single week except for the weeks that I don't, but mostly every single week. I have a Patreon now, which I will link in the description if you want more like behind the scenes type content. I also do writing challenges over there. I was about to check a watch. I keep doing that, but I don't have a watch. I just have this weird hairy mole. That's on the internet now, okay. I actually have to go film one of those writing challenges. So I will see you on the next page. Till then.